I'm Milan, and I'm with the Cause production crew, and I'm here with Jim Benton, an illustrator and writer for comics. I'm just gonna ask you a few questions, and yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what made you get into writing graphic novels?
When I've always drawn and written when I was little, way back in elementary school, I should have thought of this, having this ready to go. But we used to do something where we would take a sheet of just regular paper, right? And we'd fold it, and then we would fold it again. So you kind of have like a little book, and we'd staple it, and you cut off the top. And so now you have like a little book. And we would make comics and sort of trade them around, right? There was a lot of people that did it, and you would sort of make it, and you might not see it for another week, and it would come back to you, and maybe somebody had written something, or something. But we just drew these and we traded these out amongst our friends. And so, because I always drew and I always wrote, just doing it as a job, it almost didn't seem like a choice. It was just kind of who I was and what I did. So I never decided to be an artist. I just kind of never stopped being one.
That's cool. So, what inspired you to write the series Catwad?
So a long time ago, talking to people at Scholastic, one of the people there really liked the character of Catwad. And they had been after me for a long time. Do you think we could do a book with Catwad? And I said, I don't know. He's just grouchy all the time. And at a meeting we had, I started drawing Catwad, but then I drew two Catwads. And one of them was the one that you know as Catwad. And the one next to him had this big dumb smile on his face. And I went, I think I might know how to do this now. I think I might know a way to do this so that it will have like characters that I can work with. And that was when I added blurb that I realized that I would like to make Catwad books.
Hmm. So, how do you create your characters?
So I just sit down and start sketching. And my first sketches are really fast and terrible. They look really loose and scribbly.
Mhm.
But part of that is just to get the idea down on paper. And, like I don't really care much how bad it looks or how dumb it is. And then you go back to it and you say, you might have a whole bunch of them. And you go, this is garbage. This is garbage. Oh, this might be funny. And so maybe you tighten that up a little bit and draw them a little bit better. And this is one of the original pages. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
how big I work. And so you can see that it's about, there's the size of the book. So I guess I'm probably working at about 125 or 130%. So I draw a little bit larger than it will actually appear. This one is from a cartoon called Smart in book two. And
Okay.
so that's how I work. And this particular one, it's just kind of regular multimedia paper. It's nothing special. The pen that I use is just a regular Flair pen, and it's just hand done. So from there, it gets scanned in, and then I add color and text. I typeset the text, most of the text, some of it's hand done, and that's how I work.
Oh, wow. Why wasn't Blurp a girl?
Why wasn't Blurp a girl? I guess Blurp could be a girl. It's like for no good reason. I do Franny K. Stein is a book series that I do, and Franny's a girl. And then I do a book series called Dear Dumb Diary, and all of those main characters are girls.
Mhm.
And uh, I guess he could be Blurp could be a girl. He's just not.
When can we expect the seventh Catwad book?
So right now we're talking to them about doing another catwad, and it's really just kind of a matter of the schedule. So once we figure out all the details of it, it'll probably be a year before it can be done and printed, I would guess.
Okay. What made you decide to write and draw your book?
Um, Mostly because I just like to make people laugh. And that's kind of, I mean, some of the stuff that I do, it can be a little more sentimental, but most of the stuff I do is silly and funny. And that there's nothing that makes me happier than the idea of making somebody laugh.
Mm. What would you say to a young person who wants to grow up to be a graphic novel writer and artist?
The most important thing, most kids, in my experience, are artists. You know, all kids draw when they're little. And as they get older, sometimes they start comparing their work to other kids. And if the other kid is maybe looks like they can draw a little bit better or something like that, then sometimes they turn their back on drawing and they kind of give up and they pursue something else. But I would say the thing is if you think you want to do it, stick with it. Practice all the time and don't be afraid to have dumb ideas and don't be afraid to do bad drawings because that's just part of the process, right? It takes time. And then even once you're doing it pretty successfully, like when I draw a catwad, the first thing that I draw, that's not the final. I mean, I have to work at it a little bit. And sometimes even when I get to the final, I'll have the whole thing completely inked up and ready to go. And I'll look at it and I'll go, nah, that just doesn't look right. And I'll start over. So like give yourself permission to make mistakes and don't like be ashamed of them. Don't hate them. Just kind of understand that that's part of the process.
Are you more like Catwad or Blurmp?
I'm definitely more like Blurmp. And although I believe that we all have our catwad days.
Meet Catwad. Catwad is having a bad day. My computer isn't working. Why do things like this happen to me?
We all have the days where like we just hate everything and everything bothers us. But for the most part, I'm like Blurmp.
Blurmp always looks on the bright side.
You know what I love? Everything.
How did you choose the background colors, and was there a reason you made them so bright and colorful?
Well, I chose to make them bright and colorful because I think people like them bright and colorful. And one of the things that I do, and this is really sort of inside baseball, but when a color, have you ever heard of like complementary colors?
Yes.
Okay, so on a color wheel, when a color is across from another color, it's the complement of the color.
Mhm.
So red complements green, blue complements orange, yellow complements purple.
Mhm.
And so for instance, when purple is in front of yellow, it looks its most purpley. And when blue is in front of orange, blue looks its most blue. And so the complementary colors, when you use them together, you can make them even appear brighter than they actually are. It's kind of an illusion in the eyes. And complementary colors, when they're side by side, like thin lines, they kind of vibrate in your eyes a little bit. Red and blue can do it too, but mostly red and green, really thin stripes together. So in a catwad, very often you'll see that the colors are changing in the background all the time.
Mhm.
And so like it's really rare for me to see, because I can change the colors all I want to. It would be really rare for me to put catwad, for example, against a blue background
Mhm.
because he's going to fade away, right?
Right.
So I try to use the colors that will make them stand out. So when they're both in a panel, that background won't be blue or orange because one of them is going to stand out more than the other. So the background, there's a lot of greens and purples and stuff like that in the backgrounds. When they're by themselves in a panel, so like if it's just Blurmp in a panel, I'm trying to find one here that's just Blurmp. Okay, so here's Catwad. He's looking all blue. So
Mhm.
he gets this yellowy, orangey background. But here's Blurmp. and he doesn't
Mhm.
get that yellowy orangey background. He gets a color background that's going to make him stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Because the world they live in is whatever I say it is, I
Mm-hmm.
can change those colors as much as I like in order to make the panel and to make them look as good as I can. So that's why I choose those colors.
Oh, okay. So, what are you working on now?
So right now on the table is I just did a book for DC called Batman Club, Ernest Fann. And so I'm doing the second one in that series right now.
Oh, okay. And my last question is did you have anything to do with your Dear Dumb Diary movie?
I had a lot to do with it. I co-wrote it and I produced it and I helped cast it. And I had about as much to do with it as they would let me do with it. So, and I get to help cast the actresses, who I thought were great, and help work on the lyrics in the songs. I can't play music, but I can help with lyrics and stuff like that.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me. I had a really great time. And thank you. And I hope to see
Wait,
more of your.
Milan, maybe I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, do you draw or write?
Yes, I do. I at home I have like a whole binder of like my best artwork, and I have like a comic section, and I'm gonna say like most of them have like Catwad inspired things, or like I took pages from the books and redrew them.
That's a great way to learn. Like most people, when they're learning, they draw the things that they like, and then eventually they just start drawing other stuff. But do you think that you'd like to be a writer or an artist or a professional interviewer, or what do you think you'd like to be one day?
Well, I most certainly want to have like drawing as a side career, but my main focus is I want to be a chef when I grow up.
Oh, I
Not
love to cook. I love to cook. Do you watch a lot of cooking shows?
yes, like Food Network is like one of the main like channels I like to
Do
watch.
you watch the Great British Baking Show?
Oh yes, and I like to watch Is It Cake and Nailed It, and like around Halloween time my family and I will watch like the Halloween cakes, and like those are really good.
Yeah. Now, what's your best meal that you can make?
Hmm. Probably salmon, mashed potatoes, and broccoli.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds and salmon's kind of tricky too. So I'm
Mhm.
impressed.
Thank you.
Okay, Milan. Well, thank you very much for interviewing me today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Like and subscribe for more videos from the cause.